Welcome back. Now over to Kelly Snyder with your 5-day weather forecast.
I hope you have your best pair of boots on today because the wet snow is not done. Expect more snow mixed with rain for the rest of the day and a high of +1. Thursday will be similar to today, more flurries but warming up to a high of +3. Friday, the flurries will finally stop, but there is still a 40% chance of some snow. It will be cloudy and getting down to a low of -2. When we head into the weekend, on Saturday, there will be more clouds and it will reach a high of 0 but drop to a low of -5. And Sunday, cloudy with a 40% chance of flurries and it'll drop to a low of -5. That's your 5-day weather forecast. Now back to the newsroom.
Thanks, Kelly. Former Republican Senator Chuck Hagel has been sworn in as the new U.S. Defense Secretary. After a close vote of 58 to 41, the confirmation comes as relief for the Obama administration. Despite Hagel being criticized for his views on Israel and Iran, Obama says he is the kind of defense secretary America needs. Hagel is sworn in at a time of challenges, including multiple defense budget cuts and the scheduled withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan in 2014.
Automatic budget cuts are looming for the U.S. unless Democrats and Republicans can reach a deal by Friday. Cuts are expected to be felt beyond the military, with teachers and schools strongly affected. $2.1 billion in cuts target the Army, with Georgia and Texas hit hardest at $233 million. Virginia follows with $143 million in cuts, and schools in California could suffer $87.6 million in cuts. Texas could feel it too, with $67.8 million in cuts, and Florida with $54.5 million. Arguments have been heard in past weeks in an attempt to avoid the cuts scheduled for Friday.
Pope Benedict XVI addressed the public for the last time as leader of the Catholic Church this morning. Benedict, who 2 o'clock waved farewell to the tens of thousands of people who came out to greet him. He spoke of joy and light during his papacy and stressed how difficult his decision to resign was, insisting he was not abandoning the church. He was driven around St. Peter's Square in an open-sided vehicle, and at one point he even stopped to kiss a baby. Benedict will be the first pope to retire over 600 years.
Officials in Egypt say there was no foul play involved in the hot air balloon crash that left 19 dead. The hot air balloon caught fire Monday morning before deflating and falling to the ground. Victims of the accident included tourists from Japan, China, the UK, and Hungary. The pilot and a British tourist were the only two able to survive by jumping from the balloon. The crash has been led to the immediate suspension of hot air balloon flights in Luxor, Egypt, and an investigation by authorities. Flowers have been laid at the site of the crash.
And now with your sports news, here's Andrew Millichamp.
Thanks, guys. According to ESPN.com, the NHL is proposing a new realignment plan that would see them go from 6 divisions to 4 and introduce a form of divisional playoffs instead of the current conference system. The new playoff system would see the top 3 teams from each division make the playoffs, as well as the next 2 teams with the highest point total. Now, this proposal will need to be approved by the NHLPA and the Board of Governors. However, if it passes, it would take effect for next year's regular season. The realignment would see Detroit and Columbus moving to the Eastern Conference. Columbus would join the 8-team Atlantic Division, while Detroit will join the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 8-team Central Division. That will reignite the original 6 rivalry just in time for next year's Winter Classic. The Midwest Division is also seeing changes as the Winnipeg Jets finally move over to the Western Conference. They've been in the East ever since they relocated from Atlanta. And finally, the Pacific Division will still feature the Vancouver Canucks, Edmonton Oilers, and Calgary Flames. This proposal would leave 16 teams in the East with only 14 in the West, which would seem to leave the league open to 2 expansion teams joining the West. The Leafs are in action tonight as they take on the Canadiens at the ACC. The Leafs are currently 3 points behind the conference-leading Canadiens and are tied for 6th place. They've already beat the Canadiens twice this season, 2-1 on opening night and a memorable 6-0 victory earlier this month. Also in action tonight, the Flyers will host the Capitals in a battle of 2 disappointing teams. The late games will see Nashville travel to Anaheim to play the Ducks, and Detroit will head to LA to face the Cup champion Kings. The Raps will look to rebound from a listless loss to the Washington Wizards tonight as they squeak sneakers with the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Raps are only 8-19 on the road this season, while the Cavs play their best basketball at the Quicken Loans Arena with a 10-16 record. That being said, the last 2 times these teams faced each other, the road team managed to get the W, with Cleveland picking up a 99-98 win in late January. And the Jays continue spring training today as they play the Houston Astros down in Dunedin. The The Jays look like they'll have their opening day roster out there, as all the regulars will be in the lineup. The Jays will send Brad Lincoln to the mound as their starting pitcher. Lincoln was acquired from the Pittsburgh Pirates last season for Travis Snyder. That's it for sports. Now back to the newsroom.
Thanks, Andrew. American brewed Bud Light may be lighter than you think. The American brewer known for putting out beers such as Budweiser, Michelob, and Busch is being accused by consumers of watering down its products. Anheuser-Busch is being sued on the basis of information from former employees at the company's 13 U.S. breweries. Some who were in high-level plant positions say the beer is watered down before being bottled. A California lawyer involved in the case says the watering down process cuts the alcohol content by 3% to 8%. Anheuser-Busch says the claims are groundless and that its beers fully comply with labeling laws. That's all for Humber News today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Katie Boyven.
And I'm Julie Frazina. Humber News is written and produced by journalism students at the North Campus. You can also catch us on YouTube. We'll see you next time.